Here now with a Spartan, Youngmisuk, and a Bonnie, Tim Bontemps.
That's right.
And guys, in honor of the NCAA tournament, let's take a look at some of the best college seasons by a current NBA player, starting with Kevin Durant at Texas. What do you remember about that season for him?
Well, I mean, look, KD in that season at Texas was an absolute monster. I mean, you look at his numbers, almost 26 points a game, 11 rebounds a game, almost 2 blocks, almost 2 steals, over an assist a game. Absolute monster player. Obviously, Texas didn't have an incredible season. That was the year that Ohio State with Greg Oden and Florida with the whole Joakim Noah, Al Horford group, Corey Brewer got back and won a second straight championship. But Kevin Durant had one of the great college seasons of all time, became the second pick in the draft. We all know what happened from there. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of great names on this list as we'll go through them, but you look at Kevin's numbers, I mean, I think Ohm will agree. They just pale in comparison. Everybody else pales in comparison to just how dominant KD was in that 1 year at Texas.
He's the first freshman to win like the National Player of the Year awards. Pride of my hometown, Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Kevin Durant was an absolute beast in college. And I think we just started to see really what he would become, which was just an unbelievable scoring machine.
Maybe the best player in the country, and Kevin Durant.
Unbelievable. He's awesome, baby, with a capital A. I mean, call your friends up. Are you serious what we're watching? He's a scoring machine.
And he certainly was. I mean, he was dominant, but our next guy was a supernova and has continued to be in the NBA, and that's Steph Curry. I don't think we really fully understood what we were watching with Steph Curry at Davidson. What do you remember about what Steph did in college, Ohm?
I mean, first of all, there was just the outside shooting. It was amazing seeing a guy that small from a college like Davidson really just kind of capture the national spotlight and really just was an exciting player to watch, just hitting threes all the time. It's kind of like, you know, you get excited come tournament time because there's always one guy like that gets real hot and hits threes from everywhere, but not for like an entire season. I mean, Steph was dropping like 44, and he was doing it against big schools, dropping like 44 against Oklahoma, 44 against NC State. He averaged like 28.6 points, 5.6 assists, 2.5 steals. We wanted to see him longer in the tournament, but certainly like Steph was just kind of giving us the appetizer and the preview for what was going to come in his pro career.
Davidson with Steph was really one of the first, you know, Cinderella stories in the tournament like that to go that far. And everybody at the time, I mean, I'm sure you guys agree, it's like, oh, this is a great story, like son of Del Curry, like great small college player, you know, maybe he'll be an okay NBA player. Like, you know, the fact that we're talking about him as the greatest three-point shooter of all time, one of the greatest players of all time 15 years later, it's just, you know, it's one of the truly remarkable careers. And it really began, you know, in that tournament run in 2008, going all the way to the Elite Eight and, you know, coming that close to going to the Final Four.
It never touched the rim. Curry with the three. Oh! Looking right at LeBron James the whole way down the floor, too. LeBron's impressed with what he sees.
The nickname Babyface Assassin really
it really was it was an incredible
during his Davidson
nickname.
years. If you look back at just, you know, how young he looked, and I think that was part of the mystique, part of like why he was so fun to watch, because he was like, who is this middle schooler just like launching threes from, you know, beyond NBA distance?
To your point, Cass, like the fact that he was so small, I mean, it's sort of the same thing that's gone all the way through his career, right? Like you look at Giannis or Kevin Durant or LeBron, like fans watch those guys play and they're like, that guy's dropped onto the planet from somewhere else, right? You can't like really think about what it's like to be those guys. You watch Steph play, especially in college when he was like 6 foot and 150 pounds soaking wet, it seemed like you could see that guy play in your local high school gym.
Yeah.
Like he didn't look like, he just looked like a normal guy doing extraordinary stuff.
Ripping a pull-up three. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Stephen Curry with 42. That is a new career high.
Let's move on to, you know, Kentucky. A guy who had a great season for Kentucky, and they've had a lot of guys there. But let's deep dig into Anthony Davis's one season.
I mean, what stood out to me was just how dominant of a presence he was on the court, right? Like Kentucky dominated all the way through, won the championship. I mean, you look at these numbers, the scoring numbers don't stand out, right? 14 points, 10 rebounds. Like, obviously in college, things are depressed a little bit, especially for big guys with foul trouble, but that's still pretty good. Then you look at blocks, 4.7 blocks per game, right? Like, that is otherworldly. And that's what I think of when I think of AD, was just this absolute pterodactyl of a player flying around, blocking shots, just monster physical specimen, and was a guy that, that was my first year covering the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets were down there in the lottery. They had a top 3 pick, and it was like, the Nets, all these different teams were hoping, can we be the team that jumps up to the number 1 pick and gets this generational big man that could be the next Tim Duncan?
I'm thinking we're looking at Tim Duncan with handles, a 3-ball, and a high vertical. Yeah. Like he can be 10 times better than Tim Duncan. I really see that.
38-2 for Kentucky. Took home national championship tournaments, MOP, Wooden Award, Naismith Award. He had 186 blocks that season. That's insane, I think. So Anthony Davis was like a no-brainer for this list.
James giving game 1 to Darius Miller. Here's a steal by Davis and to the rim. Wow. Did I mention he's more than a shot blocker?
All right. I think another no-brainer is cardiac Kemba. What are the memories that stick out to you when you think about Kemba Walker at UConn?
There are many Big East legends, okay? Big East tournament legends. And his is just up there with everybody else, whether it's Ray Allen, Patrick Ewing, any of these all-time greats that went through the Big East. His tear is up there with anyone. I mean, that 5-game tear in 5 days, right, Timmy B, was absolutely insane. I think he scored 130 points. And it wasn't just, it was just the way he scored him. He was so shifty. It was like little step backs. He was so small in the court, and it was clutch. He was hitting big shot after big shot after big shot. And the run never ended. Like, he went through the NCAA tournament. I think he went through my Spartans. He ended up winning it all that year. Kemba was incredible. I mean, that is like legendary stuff in college.
I started my career at the New York Post, and we always covered the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament wall to wall around the country. And so I just looked it up, and from 12 years ago, the lead of my story from UConn's first game in the Big East tournament that year was, it took Kemba Walker 3 years, but he got his first Big East tournament victory. And then he said, I think we have a solid chance to go far in this tournament. We're going to take it one game at a time.
Mismatch. Walker on McGee with 4. Kemba Walker. Step back. Walker. Cardiac Kemba.
Let's wrap it up here, and let's finish out with a guy who had eyes on him in pretty much everything that he did. Zion Williamson.
It was must-watch basketball. To me, it was like, we never got to see LeBron play in college. And I think had LeBron played in college, it would have been like this. An absolute freak of nature that we just have never seen, of that size, that kind of strength, that kind of athleticism, to be able to move like that. We've never seen that in college. And so everyone wanted to watch him every single game, almost like the Fab Five. And so, I mean, everything he did was unbelievable. Even when he blew out a shoe, like that was something we had never
in front of Obama.
Zion Williamson is down. He blew through his shoe. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And it was like everything he did was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? You know, it was like watching the Incredible Hulk play basketball. I just have to say, the one thing I will always remember from Zion, though, is who ended his run. The Michigan State Spartans, baby.
I knew where this was going.
That is something I will always remember. The Spartans ended him. See, we can make this whole list. Bontemps, you look at it and put.
Yes, we get it.
Yeah,
we get it all.
The thing that made Zion such a special generational prospect was, to go back to Ohm's Spartans for a minute, he was supposed to be Draymond Green, who scored 25 points a game, right? That was what made him this guy that everybody was dying to get in the draft. It was like, not only is he this offensive dynamo who rips the rim off all the time with these dunks, he also was this absolute terror on the defensive end.
The kick, open again is Hunter. Never mind. How many guys his size could run that far, jump that high, block a shot, and not commit a foul?
Thank you for that, trip down memory lane, Tim and Ohm, and enjoy the NCAA tournament this year.